a story about Jane. Jane is a high school senior who's living a pretty great life, honestly, except for one small problem. How can a number be such a problem, you ask? Because that number defines her in more ways than one. It's her class rank. So today, I'd like to have a discussion, or as much of a discussion as a one-sided conversation can be, about this hot topic issue. Back to Jane. Jane's smart. She does well in school. But when looking at the numbers, she doesn't really seem that impressive. I mean, when there are over 200 kids in a given grade level, it's easy to get lost in the crowd. And that is exactly her problem. So, let's start off with some definitions. What is GPA? A GPA is a number representing the average number of grades that a student receives. It's calculated by taking the accumulated final grades and dividing them by the number of grades or credits awarded. This results in a mathematical mean, or average, that represents the student's grades. This number is then used to rank them. What is class rank? Class rank is a measure of how a student compares to his or her classmates, and it's usually what colleges use in their application process. So for example, a student's GPA might be better than 750 of his 800 classmates. Now, if you couldn't already tell by my visual aid, this is a long-winded way of saying it's ridiculous and confusing. And I'm pretty sure many of you didn't follow along to half of the words I just said. So let me simplify it for you. Let's start off with a basic question. Are we developing or selecting success? Developing success would mean that we give our students the tools they need to succeed. We provide them with the resources and the skills that they can use in their futures in order to gain their own successes. However, if we're selecting success, we're basically leaving them on their own and telling the top students that they get the best opportunities, and the rest of them are kind of left to their own devices. And I think a lot of you, or at least many of you, can agree with me that we should be developing success, because selecting success is, well, it doesn't seem fair, does it? And so if we're on the track that we're developing success, then class rank is unquestionably about the selection of it. And students are forced to take classes that they know would boost their GPA, rather than classes that play to their passions and, play to their strengths. For example, Jane would have loved to take journalism classes or media classes, but she was stuck. She was stuck building her way up to the AP level courses because she knew that was what would boost her GPA and subsequently her rank. And unfortunately, she began to equate that number with her worth. Students equating their worth with their number creates a toxic environment, and again, is about the selection of their success. And so if we go back to our original question, are we developing or selecting success, and we say that we're developing it, then why do we put in place a system that is the exact opposite to that answer? And this selection of success not only hinders students from reaching their full potentials, but it also kills their collaborative instincts and fosters an unhealthy competitive environment. Jane was studying for an exam, and she asked her friend for her study materials, online flashcards, that sort of thing. And her friend was happy to share. Both students did exceptionally well on the exam. However, Jane did better, and put in place a series of events that ultimately ruined their friendship. Jane's friend was fearful that Jane was only using her to better herself, and she refused to work on Jane on any further collaborative assignments, such as group projects or partnered tests. Class rank teaches our students not to treat their friends as peers or allies, but as obstacles to their own success. Jane lost a friend because of a number. And I mean, that's just tragic, isn't it? I've heard a lot of people talk about the positives of class ranks, what it can do for our students. And they say that it fosters a competitive environment. It boosts self-esteem. It gives students confidence as learners. However, that competition can quickly take a dark turn, especially in young, impressionable minds. And I'm not saying here that competition is bad. Competition is very healthy, and it's necessary for our futures. It forces hard work and diligence, and we're about to enter an environment where competition is ever present. We're competing for our jobs, we're competing for the best seats, we're competing for everything. I'm just saying that in our high schools, it can go bad really, really quickly. And so this competition treats our students like they're objects, and it turns high school into a game where the prize is valedictorian, and students have to be extremely strategic in how they play. They have to choose their classes with apprehension on the effect that it'll have on their GPAs. They have to figure out how to impress their teachers. And this willingness to play the game well leads to students willing to sacrifice sleep, health, friends, or anything else that can get in the way of them receiving a better grade. This sacrifice of health in particular has led to a rise in mental health issues. Jane herself has seen firsthand the issues surrounding academic pressure. She herself suffers from crippling anxiety and knows of several other students that go to therapists on a regular basis to deal with the pressures that they face in their schools and their pressures to do well. And so things such as class rank, honor roll, grade-based scholarships all become rewards for having played the game well. And it shifts the focus from what students are doing to how well they're doing it. And it takes away from the learning process in general. Students prefer less challenging tasks. They no longer want to actually passionately learn something. They're blindly memorizing to get the grade. And that simply takes away from the cultivation of education itself. And students are no longer being passionate, they're no longer learning, and they're no longer caring about how they're doing. They're only caring about their grade. And so I'm talking about class rank here as it applies to Jane, her ranking system, her GPA system. However, there's really no standard for how class rank should be done or how even GPA should be calculated. Almost 60% of schools in the United States do not rank their kids, and they don't even provide GPAs for their kids. However, the schools that do provide GPAs employ complicated weighting strategies. Different courses are assigned different percentages. At one school, your AP level courses or your hard courses could mean lower than it would at another school. And so it really has no measure of telling what that student's course load was. And so when you send your GPA to a college, they can't tell whether you had a rigorous course load with it. They can't tell if you had the opportunity to take a rigorous course load. They can only tell that you did well in your classes and therefore you have above a 4.0. And so because there really is no accepted method, it becomes extremely difficult to kind of understand what it even means. For example, Jane lives in a system where she has access to excellent opportunities. Her class rank is completely different to a student at another school because she was allowed to take rigorous course load. She was allowed to take a rigorous course load. She had the opportunity to take rigorous classes. And that is a completely different method to playing the game than it would be at another school where she wouldn't have those opportunities or she wouldn't have the resources available to do well. So Jane was stuck because at her school, AP classes have so much more meaning than they would at another school. And so she's taking so many because she knows that if she gets a B in an AP course, it's basically an A in every other class that she could possibly take. So she spreads herself thin. Instead of focusing her hard work and her passion towards one class, one subject, she's doing moderately well in all of them and still managing above a 4.0 GPA that tells colleges, this girl knows what she's doing, when really, she doesn't. But Jane really needs to prime her resume, prime her college transcript for her college applications. College applications. What every student strives to better their rank for. But how necessary is it really? Colleges have said that they read applications based on the context of the school. And the percentage of schools that consider class rank considerably important to their application process has dropped considerably, from 42% to 13% in recent years. Colleges don't care about your rank because when schools don't even give it to them, because like I said, some schools don't rank their kids, it doesn't matter because that application is still put up for their process of holistic review. Sorry. Holistic review is the idea that a myriad of factors make up a person, not just a number. So schools will read applications with the contents of personal essays, extracurricular activities, and even race. These are what should make up a student. And there are still schools that only look at the numbers. I mean, go to Caltech if you really care that much about your class rank. But I'm saying that a lot of the students at this school or even in the world would much rather focus their time on building their extracurricular activities and writing valuable personal essays than working so hard in school for a number that isn't really going to get them anywhere. And so this idea of holistic review comes into play because is rank really important then? If colleges don't look at it or they don't care about it, then why do we use it? And all of the measures that have been used to establish a student's success, Admissions officers have said that rank is to be one of the fuzziest. It doesn't talk about backgrounds. And like I said, it doesn't talk about the opportunities the student had or the resources they had available. Jane lives in a school that has excellent resources, and her repertoire of classes shows that she was heavily challenged. However, because her school is so good, she realizes that her rank was not the greatest compared to others. And so she put all of her time into her personal essays, cultivating amazing fantasies, creating essays that really spoke to who she was, and she built up her extracurricular activities with things that she was passionate about. However, that number shows up at the top of her transcript. And no matter how much schools say that they don't give merit to the ranking system, seeing that number will definitely form some sort of inherent bias. And that's just not okay. I mean, when a student works so hard to build their resume and to write essays that really shine to their personality, why does a number have to say who they are? And it shouldn't. And I find it very ironic that we're talking about class rank here as it applies to colleges, because that's what it really is for our college applications. However, when we leave our high schools, what is class rank? We're not going to get ranked at our jobs. We're not going to get ranked in college. And so why do we teach our young, impressionable minds to reach towards such a solid goal as a number, when in their future they should be reaching towards goals like bettering themselves and doing better at their jobs and striving for a higher position? I find it ridiculous that we work so hard towards a number that has absolutely no meaning to our futures. And it really shouldn't have a meaning because there's no place for rank. We shouldn't be ranked because numbers don't define people. I'm pretty sure many of you have already figured this out, but I am Jane. Now please, I know it comes as a shock, so control yourselves. I am Jane, and Jane, that's me. And I wanted to say this because we have only one question to ask. Why? Just why? This whole idea is ridiculous, and I'm sure a lot of you can agree with me. And so I chose to tell this story through the medium of Jane because I felt that if I came up here today and told you that I was going to talk about the rank system or I was going to talk about my experiences, a lot of you would have immediately shut off. Because a lot of times it sounds like students are just complaining about their lives, that they're complaining about their stress and they're complaining about their problems. However, ranking is a serious problem that needed to be discussed. And so, I think that we can spread this idea to our country. As I said, 60% of schools already don't rank their students, and South Fayette is already in discussion to abolish their ranking system. And unfortunately, while it might not occur while I'm here, it'll severely help our future generations. And 60%, the overachiever in me is saying, why not make that 100%? Let's make it a medium in our country to not define our children with numbers. And come on, let's take it even further. My birth country, India, places such a significant importance and value on class rank. If you're not number 1 or number 2, you're not guaranteed your future, and you're basically screwed. And so let's have America be the beginning. Let's start here and have us be the catalyst for a global awakening on how we define our children. I just want to close with this, and I'm about to get sentimental here. A high schooler writing to the East Side News wrote that human beings are more than numbers. They're gifted with hearts and minds that stretch far beyond a class ranking. The system of class ranking abolishes the aforementioned qualities and strips away qualities that are critical to not only school, but life. Thank you.